Well, hello, day 14 in our days of Thanksgiving. And I actually just deleted the video that I posted up. So a few of you had already received links, and I have already deleted it because I realized as I was sitting down sending text messages to people, I quoted the wrong verse. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever quoted the wrong verse? Boy, I've done it a few times. Sister Nelda, if you're watching, you've got something else to add to your notebook there, your journal. All right, so on day 14 of our days of Thanksgiving, we are thankful for members one of another. Now, I don't know, that's actually in the verses I'm going to share with you in just a moment, but this morning I was reading in Romans chapter 12. In the last recording, I said 14. I was reading in Romans chapter 12, and Paul has written a letter to the church members, the believers in Rome, and it's kind of an interesting dialogue because he has not been to Rome. He hasn't met with these believers before. It wasn't a church that he started, but he had hopes of visiting them. He truly desired to visit with them, and he wrote a letter. And so this letter turns out to be the framework for a really good, solid, cover everything letter to a church if you don't know anything about them. And the pieces that jumped off the page really was that he recognized he was writing to a group of people that were both Jew and Gentile believers. And there were people of varying degrees of wealth, just a diverse group, okay? He wasn't, going after any single thing that was known in the church. He was just establishing good, let's say, doctrinal ways of conducting yourself as a body of believers. He did a fine job of just producing a global letter that could be written to any church today. And as I read through it, I really felt like that the members of Rockwell Baptist Church were just bouncing off the page, emanating what Paul was instructing the church here to do. So, one of the things that, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let me actually pull it up and I'm going to read a couple pieces to you, okay? So, or at least give you an overview. In verses 1 through 2, he begins talking about the living sacrifices of God. Paul urges believers to present their bodies a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is their true and proper worship. He advises not to conform to the pattern of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of the mind. Now, these are just some notes from earlier today that I'm just kind of reading off to give you a synopsis. Verses 3 through 8, humble service in the body of Christ is how that should be labeled. Paul speaks about humility and the grace given to each believer. He emphasizes that just as each member of the body has different functions, so it is with Christ's body, the church. Each believer is given different gifts according to the grace given to them, such as prophesying, serving, teaching, encouraging, giving, leading, and showing mercy. Those are all gifts. And so Paul begins, sharing those. Just recently, we were talking about gifts, and it seems like there was only some specific gifts that were mentioned. But here in Romans, when Paul is writing to the church at Rome, he expresses leading, giving, teaching, and even showing mercy, serving as gifts. So many people that they go to church and they wonder if there's anything that they can do. And yes, you know what you can do? You can show mercy to others. You can teach others. You can serve others. You can lead others. And you can help others. You can give. These are all gifts, by the way. Phenomenal. Anyway, verses 9 through 13, he begins discussing love in action, what that's about. This section focuses on love and its attributes. Love must be sincere, hating what is evil, clinging to what is good. Believers are encouraged to be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above themselves, be zealous and fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, faithful in prayer. And oh gosh, I can't add to that. What just already a beautiful letter that you could write to any group of believers. Verses 14 through 16 are blessing and harmony. If we were to put a title on that, Paul instructs to bless those who persecute, to rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. He calls for living in harmony with one another and not being proud, but willing to associate with people of low position. Again, that kind of tells you a little bit about the mixed, diverse crowd that was there. He's really asking for people to get along, to be brothers and sisters in Christ, and to appreciate one another, and to hold each other in high esteem, and encourage each other, and serve each other, and teach each other, and have mercy. Verses 17 through 21 discuss overcoming evil with good, and there's more that we could get in there. But as I read this, like I say, I felt like that many of the members of Rockwall Baptist just seem to be jumping off the page at me. They have, even if they come in with a walker, they have a desire to be a blessing to others. They have a desire to encourage the children and the adults. The children that come in, literally this past Sunday, one of them came in and gave me a gift. It was a little statue of a Goofy. It might not mean much to you, but the child gave it to me. Maybe he's saying I'm goofy sometimes, and I probably am. But this is the heart that we have amongst our members, and it is phenomenal. Now, we have many members that hurt. We have members which are older. We have some at-home members. We have some that are in the hospital, some that are going through rehab. We have folks all over the spectrum, but we have folks that love the Lord and love one another, and I just think that's phenomenal. There's a verse that speaks of that says we're members one of another. The Bible, in fact, I think it's mentioned in two different instances. The Bible could say we're members one of the bride of Christ, or we're members one of Jesus. We're members one of the church. It didn't say that. It said we're members one of another. And that is an interesting piece of language there. And I've worked on a lesson and a message before. I would encourage you to look that up, study it, and understand what it means. That's a unilateral relationship with one another. That means that, if I was members one with the bride of Christ or one with Christ, if I was a member that way, then I would have a responsibility that way, right? And I would expect that there would be some recompense in that, or some form of, I don't want to use the word responsibility, but some return in favor to me from God, from the bride. But it doesn't say that. It says that we're members one of another. That means I'm a member of you and you're a member of me. Think about that. That means I have a responsibility to you and you have a responsibility to me. I have a responsibility to listen to you, to hear you, to help you, to encourage you, to teach you, to have mercy, to love you, to pray for you, to bless you. And you have a responsibility to do that to me. That is a member one of another. It goes, all right, I don't want to get on that one because there's more in that members piece, and I'm going to let that go for a moment. But the members one of another, that thought right there. And this letter that Paul wrote, I had never noticed it before in Romans chapter 12. For me, it really seems to expound on what it should mean to be members one of another, what that would mean in action. And what that would mean in action is as I said a moment ago, having that love one for another, and encouraging and hearing them when they have needs. Let me actually pull up something here. Because there's another piece to this. Here we go. There you go. Verse 11. Verse 11, well, prior to it, verse 10, be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another. This is instruction for believers. And again, I believe this is putting in action that concept of members one of another. Then we have this odd insert, verse 11, and then we have 12, rejoicing in hope, patience in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Verse 13, distributing to the necessity of the saints. So we're still talking about of the believers. But I just mentioned something inserted. Verse 11, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. And so many times I've read that in the past from the concept of business. And it's true, you shouldn't be slothful in business. That's absolutely true. But that's not what this verse is about. Let me put this in perspective. Verse 10, be kindly affectionate one to another. Who's that? That's the believers, brothers and sisters in Christ. We're members one of another. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another, semicolon, not slothful in business, semicolon, fervent in spirit, semicolon, serving the Lord, semicolon, rejoicing in hope, semicolon, patient in tribulation, semicolon, continuing instant in prayer, semicolon, distributing to the necessity of the saints, semicolon, given to hospitality. So that piece there about not slothful in business. So, and I got to dig into this. This is interesting. So let me see what the original Greek said. You know what? That word business is not there in Greek. It says not slothful, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. That's what the Greek says. Now the King James translators, sometimes in order to help us to better understand in context, we might have more or less words than is physically there in Greek. You know, language doesn't always word for word translate over. And so they translated this as not slothful in business. Today we think of business as business. What they were talking about is in your service, the business that you're conducting between each other. And again, not money, not business like you think today. So I'm going to use a different word, service. All right? Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in your service of one to another. That would be in its context. Fervent in spirit and serving the Lord. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. I've never caught that before because I didn't recognize that word business, that it was specific in its context. It's about the business that you go about your business serving one another in the church. Your service, your action, your love in action, your membership in action. That's what it's talking about. So today, day 14, on our 14th day of Thanksgiving, we are thankful for members one of another and all that means in service, in love, in help. I've got friends that I can reach out to when I need to talk, and I've got friends that reach out to me when they need to talk. We've had people that have reached out to us and helped us when we didn't mention that we had a need. And we've reached out to others and helped them when we didn't know there was a need. That's what members do. Members one of another. Just going to encourage you to know that you have brothers and sisters in Christ, believers, in our town, Rockwall, in Texas, in the United States, and around the world. No matter where you are, if you're listening to this video, if you get it in a text message from me, if you have a need to speak with somebody, get in touch with me. I will get you in touch with somebody in your area, or I'll do my best to help you, okay? I want you to know, if you're a believer, we are members one of another. Specifically, the local church, but hey, if you're a believer, we're members one of another. And I'll do my best to love on you and help you as well, okay? All righty. There you go. Day 14 on our days of Thanksgiving. I am thankful for members one of another. That's a good study for you one day. Y'all take care. Bye.